Good afternoon. I know all of you out there in all of the developer forest and admin Mendo are waiting for this talk to start. We've got about 30 seconds. I want to encourage everyone to come find a seat. Check to your neighbor if there's a spare seat to go, hey, somebody should sit here. Scoot over, let them have a seat, greet one another, say, hi, I am so-and-so, I'm from... And this is going to be an interactive presentation, so I'm going to ask you questions, you get to fill in the answers, and at the end we'll reverse. You get to ask the questions and I'll fill in the answers. So with that said, how's Dreamforce going for everybody this morning? Afternoon, actually. I've got 1 thumbs up in the back. Dreamforce is good for this. 2 thumbs up in the back. The back row is my sweet spot today, apparently. All right. So a little bit of an introduction. My name is Kevin Poorman. I am a customer success architect at the Marketing Cloud. What does that mean? That means that I get to jump in the fires that my customers are having, and I get to help them be successful. Typically, that means successful with our MobilePush products, but I help all around. At the bottom of the screen here, you'll get to see my Twitter handle. I love being heckled by Twitter, so feel free to log on, follow me, and send me crazy jokes, comments, snide remarks, etc. So, I work for Salesforce, particularly the Marketing Cloud, and because of this, you get to gaze upon this amazing slide that our lawyers wrote. You can tell the lawyers wrote it because there's not a picture anywhere in it. This is the forward-looking statements screen. It says that if I accidentally make a forward-looking statement, talk about something that's not yet released, that you're going to ignore that politely and only make purchasing decisions about what is currently publicly available. Does that make sense? All right, with that wall of text completely out of the way, we can move on to more interesting things. What are we going to do here today? We're going to talk about what the Marketing Cloud is and why it's slightly different than other clouds here at Salesforce. We're going to talk about the difference between a transactional message and a broadcast message. We're going to talk about push and SMS messaging and emails as well. We're going to show some code. So if you're a developer who writes code, raise your hand. Any developer? We got some developers, great. We're going to have a demo, and then we're going to have a screen that talks about Q&A, and we're going to have some follow-up steps, things you can do next. Any questions on that? Snide comments on that? Okay. So what is the Marketing Cloud? The Marketing Cloud is part of Salesforce, and we are a marketing application. So what does that mean? You get to unify all your data about your customers. These are not customers in the sense of another business that buys from you, but customers in the sense of there are millions of them using your phone app or in your stores, etc. They're end consumers. You get to personalize journeys. What does that mean? Well, that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. We're going to talk about how to send messaging to your users without actually annoying them. And we're going to do that through a personalized journey. You get to engage cross-channel. What does that mean? That's marketing speak for you get to do SMS and push and email. And you get to analyze all this stuff. So you get to see that, Mary Sue opened the email, but she's never interacted with a mobile push message before. And conversely, you can see that Joe Bob has opened up every single mobile push message, but he's never, ever responded to an SMS. So, broadcast versus transactional messaging. I have this handy-dandy laser pointer in here, and if I shine this up here, you see a red dot. Everyone see the red dot? That's a hyper-focused piece of light. We also have these stage lights up here. They're bright and warm, and they are very diffuse. They light up the entire area. So if you imagine we were in a dark room, which one would you want to use to see by? This is the interactive part. The lights upstairs, exactly. On the other hand, if we use this to shine lights on there, we're not really going to be able to do much. That's the difference between transactional and broadcast messaging. When we're broadcasting, we're trying to hit as many people as possible with our light, our message. So we're going to use these lights up here. We're going to be as broad and diffuse. We're going to say everyone at Dreamforce, all 170 some odd thousand people. We're going to target all of them at once. On the other hand, if we do a transactional message, it's highly focused, probably an audience size of 1. We're going to send a message to just one person. Both of these in the Marketing Cloud can be personalized, so you can say, welcome Kevin to Dreamforce, or you could say, welcome everyone at Dreamforce, but you could still do that personalization there, regardless if it's transactional or broadcast. You can also track that information. We talked about the analytics on the slide before. Using the analytics, you can see who's opening what and so forth, regardless of the broadcast or transactional. We're going to talk a little bit in specific today about the transactional messaging. So we're going to talk about sending a message to you and you and you, but individually, not all at once. We're going to do this without annoying our customers. And part of what that means is doing this through what's called a personalized journey. So what do we mean by personalized journey? Well, as it turns out, I don't like getting email. I get a lot of email at work, hundreds of messages every day, and my favorite thing to do is delete them all, right? Anybody else with me? Too much email? How many people get too many SMS messages? Fewer people. How many people get too many push messages? More people. So there are different channels and different people engage in them in different ways. I've got a younger cousin. She does every single thing by text message. I've got my mother and father. They want an email because they want to be able to go back and search for it. So how do we communicate with our customers without annoying them, or communicating with them in a way that they're not going to engage with? We do this by letting a decision choose which one they're going to, customer choose which way they're going to be contacted, which channel to use. So we're going to take a look at our journeys here, and this is the journey overview screen. When we make a journey in the Marketing Cloud, and we'll see that here in just a second, we have these square diamonds. These are activities. We have the blue squares. The blue squares are activities. The orange diamonds are either weights or decision-making things. And we're going to go through here, and what we're going to do is we're going to set up this journey such that when we say journey go fire with this data, it goes through, looks up the user in the Marketing Cloud and says, oh, well, this is Jane. Jane likes to be contacted via SMS. We'll send her this information via SMS. Likewise, if my mom gets triggered in this journey, she'll get the email because she prefers email. And lastly, we have MobilePush. So with one API call from Salesforce, whether it's Service Cloud or Sales Cloud, you can communicate to your customers using the way that they would prefer. So this is our sort of use case here. Is what we're going to do is we're going to work through how to send a Service Cloud case comment or case update notification to the user. If you've ever used Service Cloud, anybody Service Cloud? Service Cloud. The idea here being that you're communicating with your customers. Your agents put in, oh, I need your new address so I can send you a copy of the contract, whatever it is they're doing. And they send that off to the user, typically via a case comment. Now we're going to take these case comments and we're going to send the case comment out to the Marketing Cloud using some Apex, and we're going to turn around and use that to push it to the end consumer however they choose. So with that said, let me jump into the Journey Builder here and do some moving around of things. All right, so when you log into the Marketing Cloud, this is the overall system dashboard. Are you all Marketing Cloud users? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the Journey Builder application, and specifically Journey Builder here. And we're just going to quickly set this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new journey. I'm going to give it a journey name of Best Demo Ever. And I'm going to trigger this with a journey source of event. When I configure this event, I can say a new event here. I'm going to do contact data. I'll walk through my wizard. I'm going to give this a name. We're going to say Best Demo Event. And we'll leave the icon the same. We'll walk through our wizard here. I've got a data extension set up where I'm storing my contacts' preferences. You can set this data extension up however you'd like, but mine is fairly simple. It has 3 fields. Each field is a Boolean that says once email, once SMS, or once push. So when I pull up my data extensions that are here, my data extensions, I'm going to pull up this one. And we will go into this one here, and I can see my contact data. I have my contact preferences. And so I'm going to start looking at my filters. I'm going to leave it wide open because I don't want to filter anybody out on the entry to my journey. So I'll go to my next one here, and I'm not going to schedule it because this is going to be an API triggered send. Does that make sense? Okay. Did it just kick me out? It kicked me out. That's lovely. Try that again. It would not be a demo if everything went perfectly. Okay, there's our data extension. We're going to leave the filter empty. Leave that there, and we'll say done. All right, so we've got our entry event figured out. We've got it sorted. This is going to be an API-triggered event. It's going to accept everybody going through it, and it's going to have access to our data extensions for contact preferences. Now what we can do is we can pull in activities, and we're going to go down and we're going to look at our activities. And the first activity we want to pull in is a decision split. So I'm going to pull my decision split in here, and I'm going to say this is a method choice. And I'll configure it. And I'm going to use this configure path contact data. There's my contact preferences. And as I go into my contact preferences, the first one I want to do is push. So I'm going to drag push over here, and you'll see it defaults to true. So if my push is true for the contact that triggered this interaction that we sent the API call for, we'll send them a push message. And then I'm going to add another one, and we'll configure this one to be SMS. Very exciting, this little bit. And then for the remainder and for the third one, I'm going to say if they want email, that's great. But I'm also going to configure the remainder to use the email as well. So when we get down here, I now have 4 choices in my decision split. And I can take different actions based on any one of those. So what I'm going to do is on the first one here, if I drag this send SMS over, you'll see it'll let me drop it there. I can send the send push to this top one, and I'll do send email to both. I'll do it to the remainder. What we'll do is we'll go in here and I'll get out that method. I'll get rid of this one. So if you don't have a choice set, you'll always get an email. Does that make sense? Now with this set, it's going to exit on after a day. I don't want to wait a full day, so I'm going to choose to make this a minute. And you can see how that goes for each one of these for our exit event. And here we have our basic journey. That's all there is to it. We've created a journey that says, hey, when the data comes in, look at their contact record. If they want a push message, we send them a push message. If they want SMS, we send them SMS. Otherwise, we're going to send them an email. So we've got to fall through back to email if something happens. So that's our basic journey, and I'm going to activate this. Oh, I've got errors. Love errors. I haven't configured my push or email or SMS. So if I go in here to my configure my push, you'll see that all of my messages that are set for an API integration show up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this is my my DF16 test message. We'll choose that. I'll look at my SMS, configure that. It's going to show me some information here. There's my demo message for SMS. And likewise, let me configure my email message. There we go. I apparently don't have an email configured for this. Lovely. Where did it go? We'll do this one. All right. We'll give it a subject line of new notification. Configure that. And we have to give this one a name. I forgot about that. So we'll say best demo ever. And now we can activate that. So now we've activated our journey. And one of the things that gives us, as soon as this gets done loading here, we can start looking at, oh, I've got one more error. Let me pull up my journey that I've perfected for this talk here. Anyway, so we've got our journey here. We're going to actually now look at some Apex code that we can use to trigger this journey based off the contact ID used in the Service Cloud. So I'm going to switch over to my editor here, and we're going to walk through a bit of code. How many people in here are like dedicated Apex developers? Couple? All right, so I'm going to go through this in a bit of detail. We've got a class that I've created called MC Messaging Utils. All this class does is have all the logic needed to send an API call to the Marketing Cloud from within Service Cloud. So we've got some bridge code from Service Cloud to Marketing Cloud. And we've got a couple of inner classes for deserializing or serializing our JSON payloads, like the access token result that authenticates our API, and our trigger interaction object. So from an API perspective, we refer to journeys as interactions. And as we go through here, we've got these two inner classes that do nothing but allow us to serialize and deserialize the data back and forth. Now, I like to make this as bulletproof as possible, so I've got some constants that I've set up here, and they're easy to identify and change. Things for the API authorization method and that sort of bit. And I've stored my Salesforce credentials for Marketing Cloud in a custom setting. So I can pull these out of the custom setting, grab my authentication token if it's there, otherwise I'll go get one, and I can turn around and reuse it for up to 50 minutes when the token expires. When we go through here and we want to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to call this method called triggered MC interaction event. And now this takes a contact key that is a string. All that has to be is something that matches up to a contact in Marketing Cloud. So if you're using the 18-character GUID from your Service Cloud integration, or if you're using an email address, whatever you've marked in Marketing Cloud as your contact key, you send from the Service Cloud here. So we're going to send our Service Cloud key, in this case it'll be an email address, and we're going to grab our access token if we don't already have one. Now the way this class is written, it says if we already have an access token, move on with life, otherwise kick this back, re-enqueue it, and we're going to go grab that Marketing Cloud access token, and once we've got it, then we'll move on. So it's a little bit asynchronous. And we're going to take and move our payloads. So when we have the payload we're going to send, we can actually just create a new inner class object with our contact key and start sending that along to our interaction method with our payload string. In this case, it's going to be a JSON object we've created. And we're going to send it to our interaction event URI, or URL. Make sense? Now, in this class, I've also put some other useful tidbits for you to play with. I will post the link to it here at the end. One of those is you can send just a push message. If you want to bypass a journey and go straight to a push message or an SMS, there are helper methods in here to do that. And finally, as we go through here, you can see just some of the helper methods about how to grab the access token, how to generate the message body, etc. Everyone comfortable with what we're doing in the code so far? I'm looking at some faces over here that are looking a little vague. Maybe I'm not doing a good job explaining here. Are we doing okay? Great. All right. So I'm going to turn around, and this is our code. No big deal. I'm going to show you what that looks like actually in core. So if I do a login to Salesforce.com. I can actually log into, not that. I can go to the developer console here, and I'll trigger off a manual event, a test of this event. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to debug, open execute anonymous, and you'll see that I'm actually going to fire off my class to trigger the interaction, and I'm going to send it to my email address. This is all the line of code you actually have to enqueue and put in your trigger or class in order to fire this off when a new case comment came in. So when I execute this, we'll look at the logs here. And I didn't have an access token, so it automatically kicked over to the future method. And if we open this up, you can see that I hit this event ID, the journey name, basically. And let me pull out my phone here. In a couple of minutes, this isn't real time. In a couple of minutes here, we will get a lovely little text message, or actually a push message on my phone. So with that said, let me jump back over to PowerPoint. We've seen how this all works and the apex for it. Let me pull this presentation back up and open it up to questions, if anybody's got any questions. Remember, if you don't ask questions, I'll ask you questions. So that's a great question. He asked if whether or not the message would go to Salesforce 1 or to another app or to what have you. It depends on how you've got your journey set up. So in my case, I've got it set up to send a push message to my app. Okay, you could configure this to go to your app. Salesforce 1 is a little bit outside your reach because you don't control the code for that. So with a push message, you have to be able to write the app and control that. So it's not going to go to Salesforce 1, but it will go to your app. If it was an SMS, it would just come in as a text message to messages on my phone. And if it was an email, I'd get it in my email program. Great question, though. Other questions? No questions? Is anybody excited about interesting use cases with the Marketing Cloud and sending notifications like this? So he asked an excellent question. He asked if we're sending a lot of data from Service Cloud or Sales Cloud, specifically things like what products they purchased, how do we do that with this API? Well, what you would do is you would use a corresponding product we have called the connector, the Marketing Cloud connector, and you'd be able to sync data back and forth, like the purchases they've made. Those would go into a data extension, and when you're creating your push message and your email message, when you're setting up your SMS message, all of those give you the ability to wire in data from data extensions that way. So you'd be actually using two things. You'd be using the Salesforce Marketing Cloud connector to get the data to Marketing Cloud, and then this interaction event would choose which channel to send the message with, but the content would be pulled from the data extension you already pushed over. And also the content, yeah. The content is going to be sort of templatized. Oh, the contact, yes. Yes, I'm sorry. It's a little loud up here and echoey. Other questions? These have been great questions. So you want to send a very large volume of transactional messages from some Service Cloud or Sales Cloud through the Marketing Cloud. If you are going to be sending a very large volume, one thing you could do is you could use the connector to sync data into that data extension and trigger it that way. So you can say, you can have a piece of automation in the Marketing Cloud using something other than Journey Builder, something called Automation Studio. Don't have time to go into it, but Automation Studio can sit there and go, oh, this data extension changed. I'm going to turn around and do something with the data. So you can use the connector to push, 500,000 messages into the Marketing Cloud and trigger them all at once. All right, well, thank you very much for coming. And I got the Fuel Routes bit.ly link here. We'll give you the example code that we walked through. And I want to thank the audio-visual tech guys for helping us out. They've been great. Sort of tip your waiter type thing. Give them a bit of applause. And thank you for coming. I appreciate it. And again, you can hit me up at CodeFriday on Twitter. Thank you much.